Hi, this is Sean D'Souza, and you're listening to the 3-Month Vacation Podcast. This podcast isn't some magic trick about how to work less. Instead, it's about how to really enjoy the work that you do and to enjoy your vacation time. Hello, I'm Sean, and you're listening to the 3-Month Vacation. I was chatting with a client and he told me that he needed to improve his drawing. I always draw stick figures, he said to me, and somehow I need to improve these drawings. This strategy struck me as odd because I don't see a problem with his stick figures. To me, the stick figures look good. They would always be good, and there was very little room for improvement. You don't have a problem with stick figures, I said. You have a problem with memory. My comment confused him because he was talking about drawing and learning to draw, but I was referring to a lack of memory. What is a lack of memory? Imagine you're great at cooking Italian food and I ask you to make a bowl of simple Indian-style lemon rice. What's the first thing you'll do? You'd be likely to ask for a recipe. And then you'd glance over the steps and you'd proceed to follow them. Whether we get a great result or not is immaterial. However, we have achieved a dish that was not conceivable just a little while ago. Before you had the recipe, you had no idea that you needed to do this or that or how to go about things. Hence, we could say that you have a lack of memory. All the information, all the steps, everything that was needed to make that Indian-style lemon rice, that did not exist. So you have no memory of it. We confuse memory with the concept of talent. We seem to fall back on the idea that we're not talented, and we never consider a lack of memory. We seem to suggest that others can do things that we can't, but instead, we have a problem. We have an empty database. Without adding to that database bit by bit, we can't build memory, and when we have no memory, we can't access that memory, and so we end up with the equivalent of stick figures. This is a reason why we have to stress this point of a lack of memory when clients learn a skill. Nowhere is the lack of memory more visible than on a cartooning course. We conduct this cartooning course as Psychotactics, and in the course, people expect to draw. Hence, they start off their journey expecting that they will magically be able to render something, some illustration along the way, or at least by the end of the course. However, the problem with drawing is the same as with all learning, and that is that you don't have a memory. You think you know what a tree looks like, but when you look outside, it's remarkably different. You think you know the color of the bark of a tree, and no, it's not the shade of brown that you've been coloring all these years. Trees don't look like that at all. The bark doesn't look like that at all. Look outside, and you will suddenly see that you have no memory of that color information, how the leaves sprout out. You have no memory of those things in your head, which is why you end up drawing or writing or dancing or doing any activity because there is nothing in that database that you can call upon and then use for your current purposes. So if we get back to the example of the cartooning course, practicing the stick figures that you already know doesn't help. Most people stop drawing when they're 6 years old and they're still in school. Often, those stick figures are the only memory they have. It's also the reason why we draw like 6-year-olds. To improve your memory, you have to reference something. If you look at the most celebrated artists' work, they are not necessarily drawing from memory. When you look at the work of Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael, or Michelangelo, you'll see oodles of referencing and more referencing and more referencing. Almost everything they do is a reference. And yes, there is a lot of copying. The greatest artists in history have started by copying lots of stuff, then more stuff, then more, and then finally moving to referencing. And the reason why we don't reference or copy is because we are told time and time again not to copy. As you're growing up, your parents, your teachers, everyone drills this one point into you almost mercilessly. Do not copy, do not copy, do not copy. But what teachers and parents are referring to is the concept of plagiarism. Now, plagiarism isn't good because what you're saying is you're taking somebody else's work and then you're calling it your own. So no, that's not what we're going to do. But copying, that's the fastest way. That's what you did when you were a kid. You traced, you copied, and that sped up everything. That's how you learn how to speak, how to write, how to draw, how to fix a car if you need to fix a car. And when you go through the stages of copying and referencing, then you're starting to build a memory of a situation. You're starting to build that database. The idea of building a memory doesn't apply to art alone. Let's say you're a salesperson in front of your first client. You have no memory of success or failure in the field. So you do what most people do, which is they prepare endlessly, and then they give the client the exact information that he or she needs. Inexplicably, the client brings up an objection, and you don't know what to do. You're flabbergasted, and you don't know what to say next. However, by the time you have gone through the paces and you met 50 clients, 100 clients, 200 clients, then you get what people call experience. But essentially what's happening there is you're building a memory of all of those objections, all of those situations, all of the things that can go right or wrong or where you have to improvise. That's what you're doing. You're building that massive database. And then somewhere along the line, if the client objects and says, oh no, I don't want this for this reason, you're not flummoxed. You're not confused. You know exactly what's coming, when it's coming, how it's coming. You've got that memory. You can pull out from that database that memory, and you can counter that objection in a pleasing manner and sell the product solely based on what the client is saying. And this memory or database, as we're talking about, it has a finite amount of storage capacity. And if you don't increase that storage capacity, if you don't add to their memory, you get a situation called stagnation. If someone does a cartooning course, they reach a point of skill. It's a fabulous place to be because you have developed your character, you understand shapes, color, contrast, size, and you're even mistaken for a professional cartoonist. You're that good. But at this point, if you stop, then you'll continue to hover around the very same set of memories, that fixed storage space, that fixed database. You're still drawing exceedingly well, but there is a much greater chance of stagnation unless you develop more memories. And especially in the field of drawing where other people can't draw, they tell you, wow, you're outstanding, but you've stagnated. Your reference point cannot budge, will not budge, because you're not adding to those memories. And it's at this point in time that the doubts seem to creep in. We think, well, maybe other people are more talented than we are. And that's true. There are people who are more talented than you are, but among the millions of people in your field, only a tiny percentage, possibly fewer than 1%, would have been skilled from a very early age. And even among those that are skilled very young, they don't seem to sustain that advantage as they grow up. So maybe 99% of us, or maybe 99.5% of us, we still have to build that memory, that database, page by page, chapter by chapter, line by line. Or to put it another way, if you just want to get better at drawing stick figures, then you reference and you copy stick figures. But if you want to get better at drawing, dancing, writing, or any other skill, you're going to need a database, an expanding database that expands almost endlessly. What's the one thing that we can take from today's episode? And that is that we don't have a memory. We don't know what a tree looks like. We don't know what color the bark of the tree is. We don't know so many things. And unless we have that in our memory, we can't pull it out. This is also the reason why when you have to draw something where the expression is sad or surprised, you may not have that in your memory. And therefore, copying and referencing becomes absolutely crucial, no matter which field you're in. You don't want to be a plagiarist. You don't want to take somebody else's work and say it's your own. But copying is fine. Referencing is wonderful. If you do more of that, you will find that your memory expands, your database expands, and then you become that professional, and then you stop struggling so much. And that brings us to the end of this podcast. Let's find out what's happening in Psychotactics land. On the 17th of November, we're going to have a sale of the course, which is called Pre-Sale. You probably heard of Pre-Sale. But there is a reason why the Psychotactics courses, the workshops, and all of the products sell so quickly. And that is because we don't trust the sales page. You have to know how to write a sales page. You have to put it together. It has to have all the information. But that's only one component. That's just one bus stop on the entire journey. Instead, what we have are a series of other bus stops along the way. And you have to be able to put together goodies and announcements and all of the information that is required so that when you sell, when you release your product, your service, on that very day, people are not even looking anymore because they have already bought into your product or service. Mentally, they've already gone through all of the exercise of buying into a product or service. This announcement is a form of pre-sale. When I'm saying this to you, I'm alerting you to the date, which is November the 17th. I'm going to alert you to the fact that there are goodies, which is psychotactics.com/pre-goodies, P-R-E goodies. And you will learn a lot by just getting the goodies. So sign up for that list, and that's when you will get all the goodies. And you'll see how the pre-sale works as you go through this pre-sale process of signing up and getting all the goodies and how it kind of primes you for when the day comes. And so you will experience exactly what your clients are experiencing. So check it out. It's at psychotactics.com/pre-goodies. And I'll say bye for now. Bye-bye. Still listening? If you're wondering how I came upon this idea of memories, well, I was listening to Malcolm Gladwell interviewing the singer-songwriter Paul Simon. And Gladwell has released a book on Paul Simon. It's an audiobook. And in one of the chapters, Gladwell just marvels at Paul Simon's memories and how they go back to where he was born and how he grew up in that neighborhood and the kind of music that they played and how all of those memories played a role in making him the singer-songwriter that he is today. In effect, Paul Simon was creating a database, and that database has gone on for the past 50, 60 years that he's been playing. And every part of that database can be accessed. And this is what a lot of people do, by the way. When you look at a famous author and they say, oh, I don't use an outline, I just write from my head. Well, essentially, they have a structure. They didn't always write from their head. They didn't have that structure, then they got a structure. They have a memory of that structure, and they can just pull from that database. And that's what we're doing as well. When I speak right now, I'm not reaching for words. I have that database. I have that memory of the language that I'm speaking. And so I don't have to work so hard at it. And this is the beauty of memory. You add to it like vocabulary, you add to that database. And anyway, I've been going on for too long, so I'll say bye for now. And we'll see you in 5000 BC. Just remember again, it's at psychotactics.com/pre-goodies. That's where you're getting the goodies for the pre-sale course. Bye-bye.